Now we are onto our front arms, and as you can see, there's 2 holes, and likewise on here there are 2. So we could have multiple arm positions. We could go for the first hole or the second hole, and we could also move outward like that and extend the wheelbase. Now, what is recommended is the inner hole and the inner hole, so a narrower front track. And we are going to be using these guys here, like so. And again, we may need to use the reamer for these. Let me just check them out. They are, looks like 3.5 would be the size for the reamer. Let me see how these rotate. Oh, those are nice and loose. Good, good, good. Let me just check the other one. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Now, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and check these holes here. These are the pins they swing on. Those are definitely 3.5s. And let's just test them. And the arm moves nice and easy. No sticking. And again, the arm moves nice and easy, no sticking. So we don't need to do any work on those. So let's see, this is our right side. This is our left. That is correct, because the swing arm is to the back, or the steering arm, whatever you want to call it. And our arms dip like that. It's kind of a gull wing shape, as they call it. Now, this is another part that you don't want to tighten all the way. You want to make sure it's loose. No grease, metal on plastic. Now, what you can do is tighten them as close as you can without losing motion. See, it's starting to get a little sticky there, so I'm going to back that out a hair. There we go. Nice and smooth, but the part doesn't have any play. So that would be left. And we got our, let me just check the diagram on that, because that's not obvious. And nope, this is left. And these are Stifzel. They gave us Stifzel stock, SZL. And so I had mine backwards. The arm, not the assembly there. Always check your orientation. You can see right here it says L 3.0. Nice smooth action. Good with that. Nice and smooth. Okay. Now I could use this one or the black one that came with the brass one. Either way, it's the same part. So I'll go ahead and use this one. And that's just going to fit right like that. Now that's another thing we need to watch out for. We'll find out if it's smooth once the pin's in. Okay, it does fit perfectly and it's a nice smooth action, so we're good for that one. Let's get this one on. See, I was worried that I might need to like smooth one of the insides here if it didn't, if it was a little tight. But the pieces are extremely well molded. Again, no binding at all. So now I need 2 grub screws, one in here, one in there. You'll also need those for the plastic block. They basically are going to go down and they're going to lock that pin in place. They're going to fit into that groove in the center of the pin. And because I am screwing into brass, not plastic, I'm going to need to put some Loctite on here. And you can tighten down on those because, I mean, don't go stupid tight, but you can anchor the pin so the pin doesn't rotate because the arm swings on the pin. The pin itself does not need to rotate. And you don't really want it to because you want to make sure it's being held tight so it cannot come out. So we are making progress big time. I got our swing arms in. Okay, now it's time to do now it's time for B6 turnbuckles. And we've got 4 of them to put together. So we got 2 short and 2 long. And the shorts are going to be our camber links, and the longs are going to be our steering links. Now, turnbuckles. Turnbuckles have counter-rotating threads. One side, you know, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, but on the other side, you've got the opposite, so that when you tighten them, when you rotate this linkage, it either pulls together or it spreads apart. Okay, you have this little line cut in here. You see that? You want to put that facing the same direction. In other words, they all point left or they all point right. And you should do that across all of your cars. I have all of mine pointing to the left side of the car. That way I know when I tighten, or either I go forward, I know I'm tightening. If I go backward, I know I'm loosening. And that way it's the same for everyone. You don't have to try to guess or look at the threads, or wait until there's some change that you can see to know which way you're tightening them or adjusting them. So always keep that in mind. There are many different kinds of turnbuckles. These are all turnbuckle wrenches of different sizes. I recommend getting the TLR turnbuckle wrench. It's nice and wide, it's easy to handle, it's a substantial tool, and there's a nice big surface. The ones that are just stamped out of plate steel, there's not a lot of material to be grabbing on, and it'll mar them up. So if you know, the right tool for the right job, in any event, you need a 4mm wrench for this. So now we need, I want to check something on the next page. I don't know why they do it that way. That's just odd to me. But whatever. Okay. You notice how we have 4 that are shaped like this. Now, there's opposites, you know, paired opposites like this. Okay, and the reason for that is for these guys here, our steering linkages, we want those to clear the wheel's rim that is going to, you know, be over that area. We don't want the rim hitting there, so they kind of have this little dog leg to prevent that. But then they give us another pair of these dog legs for the camber link, which could just be a straight line. There's no real reason to have the dog leg, but for whatever reason they do. Okay, so we have 255s and 260s. The 60s are, of course, the longer pair. The shorter pair, of course, are our linkages. Now, when they recommend putting a little bit of black grease in there, I don't like black grease for these things. I prefer to use some just Blistics or chapstick. Works really good. You just want a little bit of lubricant to help get them started. So just to kind of pair things up here. How do they have those for the fronts? Okay, they have them dipping in like that. So this is going to be our left, and this will be our right, like that. And those are our fronts. So one of them, the little marker will be to the left, and this one, the marker will be to the left. So they both point in the same direction. These things can be hard to start sometimes. Another thing you can do is, if it really doesn't want to bite and get going, is use a body reamer to take a few turns out of it. Also, you want to, when you're setting these up, you want to have as many threads on one side as you do on the other exposed. The chapstick really makes a world of difference. The only reason I don't use the black grease is I don't want the potential for these things to tear loose in a crash. And I think the black grease is just a little too slippery. But if you try doing this without anything like grease or chapstick, you are going to really hurt your fingers. See, look at that. It's not permanent, but I definitely squished the blood right out of it. There we go. So there is one camber rod, or camber link. Call it whatever you want. Don't give me a hard time if you don't like what I call it. I really hate that. And it's like, people are like, oh, it's called a such and such. And it's like, dude, you try talking to the camera for 4 hours on end and getting every word correct, okay? And then you can come talk. You see how they've got them measured out for you? I wouldn't worry about that, like 97.6 millimeters. Get them so they're even. You can adjust them once they're on, and you're going to need to do that anyway. It's just a ballpark. I don't know why they give you that exact number. Like it's going to be just the right amount of camber once it's all assembled. Anything will do. I'm just want a flat surface to press on here. I don't want to mar up the ball cup, and I don't want to destroy my fingertips. So we have nice, smooth steering arms, or camber links. Now to make the steering arms. Same procedure, slightly longer camber arms, or turnbuckles. Jesus, it's late. Wait a second. Oh, I should have used the other ones. Yep, I need to switch these two cups here. My bad. Okay. You see how this has a little drop to it? That would be coming off the edge here. This needs a straight connect. And, in theory, they could use the same straight connect on all of those except the outer ones, and they don't need this one. This could be a straight connect one as well. It would just need to be a longer turnbuckle. So that's easy enough to fix. Now this is the one where it's even trickier because you've got to have the dog leg going in the right direction and the marker going in the correct direction. Trying to hold this stuff sometimes can be a pain, but you'll get the hang of it. Now the easiest way to get these guys on is have a pliers and put it in the wide grip setting and then pop it on. Same thing over here. Okay, so now for the other one, remember, mark to the left. The dog leg's going to go on this side. So there we go. Now we'll need to adjust these turnbuckles big time so the steering is centered, but that's fine. Looks pretty close there. See, and because the turnbuckles are all pointing the same direction, I can just twist to the front to tighten them in and twist toward the rear to loosen them up. And the same goes for all of them. So that is got a little bit of toe out going, but again, this is not a final setting. All this will be adjusted on a tuning board, and I'll show you how to do all that later in a future video. So now it's time for our shock tower. And the smooth side of the shock tower faces the front. And let's see, where are our shock positions? Okay, recommended shock positions for the build I'm doing is hole number 2 and the middle hole on the arm. So middle and middle. On this, they show the inner ones, so I won't be doing that. We need to... These basically just pass through, and have a locking. Now they make some like titanium options for these. These are super light. I would not bother with that as an upgrade. I just don't think it's necessary. If you were, I don't know why you would, if you were converting from this to like a carbon fiber version of it, you'd probably need to switch to a different type anyway. So, you know, go for it. But otherwise, I wouldn't bother. These are a super easy change because of the way it's designed. That's another nice thing about the stock setup, is you just unbolt it and pull it out, move it to a different location, put the bolt back on. It's not like you have to thread into the plastic or anything like that. I'm just looking to see if there's any markings on here. They do make a Stifsel rear shock tower, up to you. And let's see, we need 4 3x10s. And I'm going to go ahead and use titanium on that. Now be careful, there's a left and a right of these. If you switch them, these posts are going to point off at angles. In a second, just make sure these are the right ones. No, they're not. Those are 20s. Those are the 16ths. And that's another nice thing about this manual. If you're ever not sure about a piece of hardware, these are life-size drawings, so you can just hold it up against there and check your size. That is odd. Oh, they're 2.5s. I get it. They're not M3s. Left arm's getting kind of tired. So now our final skid plate. This just goes under here like that, snaps in. Now what are these going into? Plastic. So they're going to be fine. In fact, these are the ones I think that go into these nuts here. So that's going to center out this piece, which you may have been wondering why it seems to kind of float around. And it's because the last step was these two screws which anchor the mount for the sway bar and the camber links. And if you're having a hard time getting the screws in, remember that this only has one screw, so you can adjust the angle till the screws pass through. Just give them a little push, and then they'll thread in just fine. There's our little bumper. So, differential time.